Hey gang, Kevin here, Life22, and it is beautiful, rainy December, end of the year evening. So I've been doing a lot of these little short videos, and a lot of them have been getting some traction just because they're just simple thoughts, and they've been building to something, and I'm starting to like this build that I'm doing. So if you follow the channel at all, and you're feeling kind of filled in, we did one the other day about lying, right? And not lying, and striving not to lie, and trying your best not to lie, because everybody does lie to some degree, right? Because the truth is ever changing, right? Like if I talk to you about something and I kind of present you with some facts, and then I can back up those facts so that you can say, okay, he's not lying to me, then you can absorb those facts, and all of a sudden, like, now that you have new information, like something that you believe to be true may be true still, but be slightly perceived differently, right? Like, and then realizing that still, and sometimes being reminded that two things can be true at once, which is another one that we will be releasing. But this all kind of builds, right? This builds to a bunch of different videos that are going to be coming out, and this that haven't been recorded yet. Some have been. This also builds to today's topic. So today's topic is something I like to call we who have not found God. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty easy concept to talk about or to think about. Well, it's not easy to talk about. A lot of people will, if you tell them that, like, you don't believe in God, God's not real, God doesn't exist, God is dead, according to the New York Times in the 1980s. People who believe in God will look at you like they'll look down on you. You know what I mean? Or at least that's the vibe that you get. Which is, there's a difference between somebody like me, who I've come up with this category, we who have not found God, right? And it's kind of a play on words on Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's new book, which I'm halfway through, which is we who wrestle with God, right? Like, and it's an ambiguous title, where mine kind of puts a little pin in it for now. It's a snapshot. It's a moment in time, right? So, we've been doing these things about being honest and being truthful and being all these other things, and like, so to people out there who are trying to understand who Kevin is, like, I don't want to be ambiguous about that. At this moment in time, I am one of these people that I have not found him. And I'm sure you've seen those people that, say they found God, right? And I'm stretching that narrative to say the reverse, like I have not found him. But what makes me different than like your atheist or it makes me more into the agnostic camp, is that I'm not saying he doesn't exist. I'm not saying he's a he. I'm not saying it's a she. I'm not saying it has a gender. I'm not saying, and if you watch the show, you know that I'm not a non-binary, they, them, is, zizzer, scissor, xerxes. That's not my forte. So, but to say I'm throwing out the concept, to say that it does not exist, I have seen evidence for and against. You know what I mean? The existence of a higher sentient being that is all-knowing and omnipotent and like directly, the head of the head, right? Like, I don't see. It's like, I don't like. Who's to say? The whole theory on like, the God that everybody's praying to in Islam or in Judaism or in Christianity, like, who's to say they're not the same guy written about differently, the same entity? Who's to say that they're not who's to say that it's like, it's not like a general amongst the gods, right? Like Greek mythology, right? Like you had Zeus was the king of the gods, and they kind of made him more prolifically, being. Maybe it's more like nation states. Like there is a sentient force in the universe that takes care of one quadrant of the universe, and then like there's another one, and then there's a higher arcing entity that or collective mindset that runs that. I mean, that there's so many different possibilities, and I'm not trying to discount anybody who is an atheist. I'm actually more likely to, and I'm not trying to discount anybody who has a firm belief in their religion, and that may be mono or polytheism. I'm questioning. I'm ever questioning. As the great Einstein, he once said, never stop questioning. And that's kind of where I'm at currently in the world, is more of the agnostic camp. I'm not saying that I don't believe in him or her or whoever. I'm not, but I'm also not there yet. I haven't found him, so I can't say that I've found God. And until you find, you can't believe, right? But as I get older, and it seems to be like seem to be hitting that exponential point in the curve where I'm listening to a lot more religious people lately and getting their takes and their point of view. And if anything, I may be more discounting the belief system, because everything is a belief system. If you believe in God or you don't believe in God, if you believe in gods or you don't believe in, or you don't believe in gods, right? That's each are a belief system. As much as atheists want to say that it's not a belief system, like the atheism is a belief system. It's a system of beliefs that says that you don't believe in a God. That's it. Like I mean, ta-da, you are a belief system, and a belief system is typically a religion. So it's your religion of no gods. You know what I mean? So you just haven't defined your religion yet. You know what I mean? Each individual has not defined what they're atheist about, if you will. So, but I want to have this talking point out there, and I want to open the door for conversation, because I'm more likely to that's why I'm listening more to people that have religious beliefs and then have a belief in gods or a God, because like if you look at Christianity, for example, or Judaism, you've got these different pathways in which to live your life and feel fulfilled. And there's something to that. And you can't discount it. And I don't want to discount it. And I want to struggle, as Jordan B. Peterson has in his title, with God, with the thought of God. As you can hear in the background there, those are my children. And I have to grapple with these thoughts, and everything is for the betterment of them, if that makes sense. I have to grapple with these. I have to ever question. I don't want to follow a blind path, just blindly taking a leap of faith, if you will, and saying I believe in something that I honestly don't, and I want to be honest. And my being honest is the act of telling the truth versus, being untrue. So if we can juggle these two thoughts around, and all of a sudden, hey, I've outweighed the amount of, reasons that there is a God, and I change my point of view to avoid using a leftist term, but it's inevitable. My truth would have changed, right? Like the truth that I know to myself of facts to be true would change my truth in the perspective of the word. My perspective would have changed because I have information, or whatever that I believe to be true, and that may change. But you cannot I'm more likely to side with somebody who has a belief system which leads them to a fulfilling, wholesome life and has something going on that's right, than somebody who does not have anything laid out, and they are more wandering down the road of chaos, if you will, right? Like there's order and chaos in the world, and you must order life out of the chaos. And so somebody who has a religion that has a lot of it laid out, and a lot of it has good points, and there are some bad points. I'm not going to say that all religion is perfect and great, but and those bad points also feed into the thing that we are human and we are flawed creatures. And so to keep going with that topic, I mean, it's really just, I'm more likely to follow somebody who is following a pathway made of cobblestones, pulled these different pieces of chaos and formed them and made them into some sort of order, and then laid a pathway, an ordered pathway into the chaotic abyss that is life, than I am to just have, just kind of float around in outer space. Hey, you can float wherever you'd like. It's like, yeah, but what's the purpose? What's the point? Why should I just sit here and unquestioned and just get stoned out of my mind and stare at the ceiling, which is ever the same, except time's grasp on it. It's just, I hope I don't offend a lot of my viewers, but then again, my podcast is not about your offense or non-offense. So that was not my intent, was to put out a podcast today. It was my intent of my podcast was to kind of lay where I am currently, my balance sheet, right? My snapshot in time of where I stand on religion and God. And that's where I am currently. But I've got a guest coming on the show, and I wanted to kind of get this podcast out before he came on, not for him to watch, but more or less so that like my audience had a view, because he is a man of faith. And I just finished reading his book, and it's inspired. I'm sure it'll come up in our conversation, but it's inspired me to read the Bible. I've never actually read the Bible. I've read excerpts from the Bible. I've taken excerpts from the Bible. It is a very interesting book. And, just from the excerpts that I've taken and just living in a Judeo-Christian society, you get a lot of it. And what you get a lot of it kind of foisted upon you as as a kid, and you don't really think much about it. You could go your whole life without in our culture and never watch Star Wars, but who Luke's father is, right? Like I could just say that, and almost everybody knows. Anybody who was born post 1970s, you know what I mean? Like it's Luke. Was it the 1980s? Jesus, see, late 70s. Real early 80s. It's like, I don't even know when Star Wars came out, because I didn't watch it until I was in high school. So I mean, you got to think that was post 2000 when I was watching the first episodes, because the second episode, the second series was coming out within the series, the second group, and it's one of those what do you do? You get things in our society are foisted upon you, so you don't have to read. Man, there's a lot of fire trucks going around. Oh, anyways. It's got me curious. The mic picks it up and puts it in my headset louder than it is, so it kind of got me curious, because we've got a wood-burning stove in the living room, and I stoked it before I walked in to do this, but some time had passed, and I didn't think that it was, and the temperature's dropping. It's nothing. There's not like there was to be a chimney fire or anything, but it was just one of those things. It burns in your head. And you're like, oh, did I leave the stove on, right? And it's starting to get fainter in my head, but this mic picks up quite a bit. So anyways, back to my story. There's things that are foisted upon you in our society, and those things that are foisted upon you, like Luke's father, right? Like, who is he, right? Like, those Judeo-Christian values that our society is based on are also foisted upon you. The same way that, there's a lot of Islam that is foisted upon you, and Muslim, cultural ideas if you live in Minnesota, right? Like if you live in Dearborn, you're going to get a lot more foisted upon you from Islam than here in Western New York. That doesn't mean that there's not Muslims in our area. It's just it's the dominant culture. So but I've been doing these, the same way that if you follow Jordan B. Peterson, the doctor, if you follow him, you're also seeing that he's doing more and more on trying to uncover the truth and why we're here, right? Never stop questioning. That angst inside of you that says you got to keep exploring. You have to explore. You have to. What is this brave new world in front of us, right? And then there are people that have come before us that have kind of had snapshots of things that you haven't seen, and then conveyed them in timeless stories, right? That they can kind of convey to you different things that like you wouldn't have seen because you didn't live in their shoes, right? Like, but they lend you a pair of their shoes and a pair of their spectacles to be able to view the world the way they did by conveying it in a story or in an autobiography or in conveying different facts and stuff, and to never stop questioning and that exploration that we all have inside of us. I know young men do. I know I do. I know old men do. They kindle that flame. And then there's a lot of people that sedate themselves and just sit around all day and get high, and they don't. They kind of suppress it. I'm sure it's there. It's suppressed. They have other things that they're concerned about, not exploration, not shooting for the moon. Right? And that's to each their own, man. But I tell you, there is, I wanted to get this out there just so, I wasn't one of those podcasters like, there's still a lot of questions to be had about like somebody that I follow, like Jordan B. Peterson. Like, how religious is he? Where is he in his religion? There's a lot of people that ask those questions, and I watch enough of them that I have a pretty decent idea. And fear know thy enemy. Well, yeah, because it would have been a character of his place, and and to thy own self be true. Anyways, now I'm rambling off Shakespearean quotes. Yeah, those. A lot of people are like me out there, and they question things, and they haven't like nailed it down yet. And it's not that we're behind. Maybe we see something that you don't see. Maybe maybe you see something that we don't see. And so I'm kind of following the same path that Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is following, where I'm watching his series on Exodus. I'm watching his series on Genesis. I'm reading into Islam. I'm checking out these different things, because there's also a lot of political climate that we're being foisted into, right? Like, you have all this stuff going on in Dearborn, Michigan, where like, and Minnesota as a whole, where like all these Muslim populations are popping up, and they're anti-American. They are, this is your system, and we're all here, and we're gonna breed you out, and we're gonna vote you out, and this is what's going on. And it's like, well, I mean, that's. I think you found a loophole in America that allow, like, hey, we'll welcome people here, but you don't get to, you come here and become one of us. You don't get to like come here and make us one of you. Like that's the, my culture slowly, the Irish culture slowly kind of, melted into the fabric of America, right? Like, I think like if you're saying America's fabric, it's like, it's not a stain, but maybe it is a stain. And, some stains are good things, right? Like a tie-dye t-shirt is an entirely stained shirt, and that's what it's designed to be. So maybe that's what it is. But you don't get to just like bleach it, and not that's not like a white thing, right? Like a lot of people relate bleaching to like to whitening and whatever else. I'm saying bleaching is in like you are taking something and pulling all those stains that were intended to be there, all those things that made up the color of that shirt, and you were just ripping them from the fabric, and creating a blank slate. It's not how America works. And so like for somebody to find a loophole that like essentially acts as bleach and is, stripping the color out of America in a non-racial context, I mean, that's why a lot of people are concerned. But following these different religions and seeing these different things and are helping me on a path to further define to myself whether there is a God or there is not. And these are things that I'm constantly questioning. And it's not to put anybody off. It's not to do any of that stuff. It's my own internal struggle. Because we all internally struggle about a lot of things. And some things are just stuck in our head. And sometimes you just, like, you go seek other research to just, you know, and try to constantly be cognizant of confirmation bias and all these other things that, like, well, I already believe this and I should just keep listening to that. And it's like, well, then you're just going to just be in an echo chamber and just keep hearing yourself over and over again. And you're one of the victims of the cave that Plato talks about. And you're just, ooh, ah, you know, and there could be a greater thing out there, you know, that's preventing you from seeing certain things. And I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at, as I'm in an I don't know. I haven't found anything yet, but I'm not saying that there's nothing to be found. And that is where I'm going with this podcast. And so tell the truth. Be honest. The truth will set you free. It surely will. That's John, 18? So, with that said, guys, I will hope to see you guys here in the next day or so. We've got some more shorts that are going to be released. We've got a lot of juicy information out there that is going to be unveiled as well. So I just wanted to lay my cards out on the table with different definitions of terms, with where I am in the world on religion, because a lot of people are discussing it, and that is kind of like a side shoot for an upcoming guest, but it is not like the trajectory in which I'm speaking just previously about upcoming kind of like tea that is going to be spilled, and just being honest, and then, like, you know, building your bridges out of like fire retardant material. That's it, man. Build them out of concrete and concrete encased steel. Holds up better. It's better fire rated. Look at your local building codes for industrial steel, and you'll understand my metaphor, I suppose, because, you know, strong friendships and bridges can't be burned. Proper maintenance. You always have to have proper maintenance. And with that said, guys, this is the we of the we who have not found God, signing out. And we'll see you next time on Life 22.